So the first thing that I did, it was the dialogues. So basically, I use my home studio, which I have an Scarlett 606, Shure SM58 with a pop shield and an isolation panel, and well, I was using different plugins in Logic to modulate my voice, pitch shifting, patch FX, which it allows me to create a lot of modulation and changes to my voice. I use also well compressor in different case for give characterization to different characters in the game, just to equal the levels. Nothing else. I mean, the dialogue was really simple step. Then I booked one of the studios, Paragon 6, which it has different surface at the well different floors, different surface for sound design. So I wanted to record it. I use the Sonytronic STC S1S and the AKG 414. Um, Placing them more or less the same high of the ear, just to give a better approach of what we really listen, or we will listen in real life of the sound of the steps. So I just use two different microphones to choose which ones I prefer. And basically, we were recording all the surface there. So my girlfriend was helping me to record the sounds. So we recorded. It was kind of grass, stone, wood, also sand and rocks. And what else we recorded? We also recorded jumps, and that's it. Just I took all the stuff. We recorded also movements on the clothes when the player it was moving. So obviously, the scratch of the clothes is also included in the game, so it's a little bit more realistic. Also, I recorded for the player when he was running, or sometimes like he started, so like breathings and exhales, and that's pretty much what I recorded in in the studio. Hello, my name is Ruben Natcher and I'm a student at University of West London. This is my video documentary for the game audio, how I create sound design and music and randomization inside the game using FMOD and Unity. So I would like to I would like to cover as much as possible, but I don't think I do have time. But I'm gonna start creating talking about the ambiances, how to create the ambiances. For example, to create different ambiances, well, in this case, I created a loop region using an audio of sea waves. For example, this one is for the beach, and using different scatter instruments. I use scatter instruments because these ones allows you to trigger at different points, different levels, and do nice randomization, and also allows you to use pace randomization, volume randomization. So it means that it's going to trigger sounds at different distances, at different areas. So it's going to give you, well, more randomization in the sound that you want to apply to the area. So in this case, I use 9 samples of different seagulls that is gonna trigger at different times with different parameters, like 4 to 6 seconds. Both has different levels and parameters that is gonna sound that we are in a real beast with loads of goals that is gonna give us better integration into the game. So I did the same with the forest. I create a loop that I use like the main sound of the forest. But obviously here I use more scatter instruments because it's a busy place where we can find more animals and more sounds. So in this case, what I wanted to use is using frogs, squirrels, tree leaves, where like movements from tree leaves and wind on the from the trees, and also birds and crickets. So there is full of life inside of the forest that is sounding like this. So it's a pretty busy forest. It's like kind of jungle, but it's different minimum and span intervals that is gonna trigger at different times, different samples or different sounds that is gonna give a renderization that you can stay there for hours, and all the time it will be different. So the same with the general tone and mountains is nothing special. Sorry. How I trigger this in Unity? So I place all in one carpet, in one folder. Sorry, in one folder. There is here. What is the general ambience? Is the one that is gonna start playing from the beginning, and general ambiences. So if I if I press in this one, I will see all the triggers at different ambiences. So this one is for the beach, this one is for the forest, this one is for the rocks. So it's just using event emitters with different attenuations, and it triggers really well in the game. What is next? So I use also diegetic sounds with using the boat. Yeah, again, loop, nothing special. But the one I would like to talk about is the rain. So I use loop regions and using for this one quantization, and also different kind of loop regions, which is going to trigger in the rain system, which is here and here. I'll try to go closer look. So I create two different studio event emitters. For the rain, it's a bigger one because it's gonna. So the clouds are around here. So when you start going closer to the storm, starts rain a little bit. So it's a light rain. But when you go to the top, when it's all so it's like a proper storm, it will start in this closer area. So as this trigger, this event emitter is inside of the other one, it will trigger first the rain, and the second one it will trigger the thunderstorm. So in this case, using the parameters, I use here in FMOD that using the loop regions and add condition parameter, I set it up that if from 51 to 1, just jump to this region, and if it goes back, like using the other one, like the light rain, it will go back to trigger this sample. So it sounds like that, starts raining, and when the player reaches the other trigger, the thunderstorm, it starts triggering the pieces, yeah, rain and heavy rain, thunders, and all of that. What else? I trigger as well. I did some triggers for the. Sorry, I did dialogues as well. What else? Yeah. So there is different dialogues, that some from the player and some from the different characters that I'm using a scatter instrument to trigger in a loop. Different dialogues that those characters, if you stay in that area, is gonna trigger every 4 or 5 seconds. Is gonna say something. What else? Also, some important one is the footsteps, but this is not the footsteps. The footsteps are, well, I'm gonna try to explain how I did the footsteps. So I just I changed part of the script of the player. So if we go to the script to this one, I just create a variable inside inside this script, and I just pointed to to different events on FMOD that using tags is gonna change the footsteps of the player. So if we go to FMOD and we go to it's not working. So if we go to the footsteps, we can see that I create different grass, rock, stone, and wood surfaces. So in this case, I recorded in the studio at Paragon, and I was like editing, like triggering like 4-5 different footsteps, and at the same time I use a little bit of randomization in pitch and volume, which is gonna sound that every step is a little bit different. So when we have all set it up different footsteps, when you go to Unity, using as I said, the tags, for example, for the bridge, it was easier because if you just place the tag on the inspector, it will trigger those sounds. From the beginning, I just assigned to the terrain, where is the terrain? That is surface A. So I do have different surface. So in this case, all the terrain, okay, is gonna sound grass. But if we go to the new tag, it's gonna sound wood. So what happened is that to trigger other areas, like for example for the rock areas, in this case for this one and this one in the island, what I was doing is that when the player walks through these areas, is gonna trigger surface C, which is rocks. And when it goes here to the grass area, which is outside these triggers or colliders, it's gonna sound grass. So it's even more realistic because every step is different, or is according to the surface that we are seeing in the game. What else? I create as well in FMOD using snapshots. What is it? The mixer. I use snapshots that, for example, I wanted to apply reverb inside the houses. So what I done is that using these groups, I did before. I was grouping different kind of sounds together to later on mix it to have a better balance of all the levels on the game. So in this case, the mashup is just a sentence that is gonna trigger a certain sounds inside the game with different properties. So in this case, this one is just sorry because I don't know which one it was to see all the the full names. But in this case, it was that all the jumps, all the steps inside the house, and even the shots of the rocket launcher is gonna sound river. So if we go to river, I just apply different values that I wanted to give inside those areas. So when you go to the footsteps inside the houses, in all the houses, it has this condition that is gonna trigger this snapshot. So it will trigger inside the game, all with reverb, all the footsteps, all the rocket launcher, and every sound that is included in the snapshot. And I think I could cover more or less the most important parameters that I changed, how I create randomization, multiple. I also created with the music using nested instruments and using moving to loop regions, so with different parameters. Here is more or less what I did with the range system. So it will jump to one song or another when you go inside the game at different areas. But yeah, I think I don't have much time to explain a little bit with more detail, but I hope you enjoy it.